Hey everybody, Jay Widener, Reality Check. Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe and share and all that other stuff. Today, part two of our exploration of the past with Cambell from the Autodidactic channel. And it's going to be a great show. Hey Cambell, thanks for joining us.
Yep. This is a star fort.
Yes.
So have you heard of star forts?
I have. In fact, there's one about, the only one in the Western United States is 200 miles south of where I live, and I'm going to go visit it as soon as New Mexico lifts the lockdown orders.
Nice.
Yeah, John Levy found it.
Oh, yeah. The one out in the desert there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's out next to a boat. Yeah. Seen that one. So star forts. So this is, when I was sort of first finding this topic, it was really the mud flood that sort of got me thinking. And then Sylvie from New Earth showed me star forts, and they just blew my mind. And to anyone who hasn't seen a star fort before, this is, now you'll find they like to call them bastion forts, and they like to tell us that these were built for war because, you know, humans are these savage beasts who run around and kill and destroy everything. That's the narrative they love to give us. But as you can see, this doesn't look like it's been built for war. They give us all these crazy stories, you know, about the points are made to deflect cannonballs and all this crazy stuff. But if you look into cannons, you couldn't even accurately hit that with a cannon. Like, cannons are the most inaccurate weapons ever. You know, they're just ridiculous. They don't work. There's actually videos on YouTube you can find of people shooting a cannon into a wall of just cardboard boxes just stacked on each other, just sitting there, and they fire a cannonball into it and it doesn't even knock the wall over. And they're trying to tell us that they could destroy these forts. Now, these forts are everywhere, and like the Nazca lines, we didn't really know they were there until we could see them from above. You know, we didn't know that what the shape was, so they were kind of hidden in plain sight. But now these things are everywhere. They are everywhere, and what they are, they're actually part of bigger networks called what I call star cities. And this is how we used to live, guys. And this is what they turned into the castle narrative. You know, the king in the castle with his moat around it. Star forts are always linked to water, and they always have these points and this, you know, this geometric sort of formation. And it's also, they're also like fractal. This is in America. This is McHenry, is it? Fort McHenry, I think.
Yep.
So this is in the US, and this star forts are the same narrative. You know, we're told that they were all sort of whacked up in a year or two in the 1830s and 40s. But when you look into the amount of material that goes into making these, it doesn't make sense, because they say, oh, they just built it, but they never tell you, you know, where they got the bricks or the limestone from, or the quarries, or how they built. I mean, there's no roads going in here. How did they get everything in there? Who built it? Who designed it? You know, why are they all the same sort of fractal look, but they're all unique? No, you won't find any two the same. They're all slightly different. So why is that?
I don't get it.
And they've always got the same thing. So this is the citadel. So this would have been one building in a shape that, and they're always, this is five-sided. So this is a pentagon. You get pentagons, hexagons, octagons, squares. You even get circles. And as you can see, this is a pentagon, right? So five-sided. It's out here, it's still five-sided. Then we have five-pointed star. So it's all based on, you know, geometry and numbers. And not going too deep into it, what's coming out is this is all to do with ley lines and energy grids on the Earth.
Yeah.
If you've heard about Cymatics, and Emoto, Dr. Emoto, who freezes the water crystals, all that kind of stuff, these are the same thing. So you can imagine if you get a certain harmony, you can actually produce this shape. So what we're thinking is these were built on certain, you know, energy points, whatever, grid lines, to harmonize the energy of the earth. And of course, when they came in and started breaking that system up, we got disharmony.
Are you saying that they use sound to make those?
They may have, but if they didn't use sound to actually make them, they're definitely based on designs that you get from frequencies of sound, yeah. But there is some interesting videos. It's mainly with iron filings, yeah. And you can actually see that they like literally build these things that look like cities just by themselves with certain frequencies. So
say, it's theoretically possible to use sound to build something like that, actually.
Definitely. And as far as we can see of the old world, they were, I don't know if you would say more technologically advanced, but they had different technology, like completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Earth energies based on sound, vibration, frequency, all this stuff. And as you've mentioned cathedrals quite a few times, cathedrals are definitely tied into that.
Yep.
This is what we would call, like I said, a star citadel. So this is only a part of a much bigger structure, which is a star city. Now, you'll find these in the star cities. The star cities are walled, and in all the star cities, you'll have 3 or 4 cathedrals. They've all got the same,
really?
Not the same layout, but the same features. And what do you find in cathedrals? Stained glass windows, round stained glass windows with cymatic patterns. Yeah, exactly. You also find those on the floor.
Yep.
Mostly tiled, and they're always underneath a dome. And
they're built to defy ratio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, built to fire. Yeah.
Yep.
So who built them? Because when you look at the tech that just goes into designing them, you know, there's no way that we were there in the 1500s, not with the story we're told.
Seems a little hard to believe.
It does, yeah. And some people have brought up the word cathode, cathedral, cathode energy. Right. But they seem to be some kind of, cathedrals seem to be for healing.
That's
a place where you could, yeah. Because what did every cathedral have in it before they ripped them all out? They all had organs.
Yeah.
Right? Organs, like we have in our body. You play the right frequency on the organ and it affects the organ inside, you get healed.
That's right. And then you walk the labyrinth, which they all had at one time before the church wiped them out. And the labyrinth's right underneath the main spire. So you're getting all the telluric forces coming down. And you walk the circle while they're playing the organ, and you'd be in great shape for another week.
Yeah, exactly. And what's up the front? You know, today, where does a priest stand? He stands at the what? The altar.
It alters.
It alters you. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's actually all in there. It's all there in the language, but like I said before, we've been taught not to look. We've been taught to look at the world from a certain place. You know, they sort of build the box around us and say, now look out with our perspective. But you've really got to sort of get to a point where you can get your head outside that box and start to see things, through your own eyes. It's like the Bible, for those that have eyes to see.
That's right.
But it's all to do with, this is all replacing the information that we have with better information is really what it is. That's, right. That the basis is research and information.
It really is proof that we are falling into the Kali Yuga too. Look how beautiful that is. I mean,
and this is the old world. It was all so beautiful. All the buildings, look what we get today. We get these ugly cubes just thrown up, look disgusting. They're not functional. You have to fill them with heating and air conditioning. These old world buildings, no heating needed, no air conditioning. They were designed to heat and cool themselves. They were self-powered as far as we can tell. They had free energy, and they were basically built. So once it was built, it was done. Let it stand for 10,000 years. Now, And this is another thing about the whole reset, you know, and I've thought about this for years, you know, why do they go ahead just throwing up these buildings that literally, you know, they're not going to be worth anything in 10 years. They're literally building things to destroy it. It's because they were planning a reset, another reset. And where do we find ourselves right now? Because we were actually talking about this, you know, 2018, 2019, as far as the sort of Tartarian researchers, we were talking historical resets, history resets. If you've seen John Levy, you've probably heard of the Orphan trains.
Oh yeah, talked about
it. So this kind of stuff, and we were talking about this, and look where we are now.
Oh,
look at this one. This one's the best place for star forts, and I just call them star forts. I don't really like the word fort because they're not anything to do with war. But if you look around here, Holland and that sort of area, you'll find things like this, where they're basically almost, you know, in 100% top quality. And look at this. I mean, and just look at the angles, how precise everything is. But what they want us to think is that this was made by, you know, a bunch of unskilled people with shovels or something, because they had no tech when this was built. And all of these forts across the world are all supposed to be built within like a 150, 200 year period. And of course, if you go onto Wikipedia, they'll list, I think they give you a list of around 30, and they pretty much say, this is it. This is all there is. But I've got a friend, the Bouger Man he's called, on YouTube. He's got Google Earth, and he's been searching. He's got thousands, like thousands and thousands of these. So they're everywhere. So again, the narrative doesn't match. They give us this story and say, oh no, they're all built this time. But when you look into it, you say, well, it's not even possible for this many stars to have been built across, you know, the Earth in a 200-year period. And you know, we've seen the ones in America. They're called bastion forts because we're told they came from France and Italy, basically. Italy first, then France, and then they sort of apparently went out and built them across the planet. So, but what were they doing in the USA? You know, why would they build a fort the exact same as one in Denmark when it's going to? You could just build a square, right, with big walls.
Time that it would take to build this complicated structure, you know, the Indians would have already gotten to you. I mean.
Exactly. And this is the whole thing about forts in general. We're told all these forts were built during the wars, or literally, you know, just as the war started. Now these forts, these would take years to build, years and years and years. So what are they trying to tell us? That everyone stood around and said, okay, we're going to have a war. Let's all go away for 5 years and build our forts, and then we'll start the war. Because there's no way you could build one of these if you were in war. You wouldn't have the resources, you wouldn't have the money, you wouldn't have the manpower. And even to think of doing something like this when you were at war, you know, they'd throw you in the loony house, wouldn't they?
They wouldn't do it. No.
They'd be like, we need resources to defend ourselves. We're not going to go and build pretty patterns in the ground. So it's, yeah, you know, his story, right? History is his story. It's just a story that we've been given. This is another one. This is, USA. And this is what we find. This is pretty much just an imprint left.
Right. That's like the one in New Mexico. It's just
just an imprint. But if you went down there and you excavated this and cleared it all out, you know, you would find, and also this is on the water, you would find that this was bigger as well. They built over them all.
Right.
But they do this, and then they try and say, "Oh, this, you know, this one's a different age to this one, different ages," but it's all. This is Pamplona, Italy. So people live here.
Wow.
Now, so this is more of the Star City look. So you can see in the middle here, 6-sided, always geometric shape in the middle. You know, 4, 5, 6. 8-sided. I think I've seen a 7-sided. You can see these radiating lines, all completely
9-sided.
symmetrical.
It's
Sorry?
9-sided.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah. It's 9.
Oh, it is 9, yeah.
How
And then what have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's so hard to build.
So, exactly. I mean, look at this. So this is, it's almost like 2 9-sided, spokes on top of each other. Because see this one's underneath it?
Yeah.
We've got all these points coming out here. See that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's actually one on top of the other that have been twisted. And then there's even a further one out
18.
here.
There's 18 points.
Yeah. So it's 9 and 9 and 6. So it's definitely got to do with numbers, technology we don't quite understand, obviously.
Well, I can tell you that if in sacred geometry, you would take the center point and you would add it to the 18, and that would be 19. And that is the building, not as a sacred number to Islam, but it's the building block of dimensions. So it's 7, 19, 37 is how it goes. And they're all prime numbers. And this is what that is. You're looking at super sacred geometry right there.
Nice. That's something I need to get more into, is sacred geometry. I've sort of done a bit of it, but that's the problem with this topic. It is so big. And it's everywhere that it's you just get swamped trying to keep up with because I'm trying not to mention things, because if I do, we'll just be in a different rabbit hole. This topic of Tartaria, or whatever you want to call it, is so big.
Okay, so this is quite incredible, because if you take the segments in the city, there's 6 of them. If you add the center, that's 7. That's your first prime number and your first cube. It's a cube of space, they call it. Then you add the 18 around that and the number. I'm going to bet if you pulled out further from this picture, you're going to find another ring somehow around this. But that's for another time.
Yeah, I think I may have a picture coming up, like an old map of this, because we also find pictures, drawings of these stars in old books.
Yep.
All over the place, and you find them drawn as they used to be a lot of the time. But here's another one. This one is from Russia.
That is beautiful.
So just completely, covered, not heavily covered, but it looks nice with all the grass on it, doesn't it? The greenery. But you can see this edge here, how that's a slope.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more under. You can see the whole thing is sitting up. There's more underneath this. This is just the very top bit. This is what we would call the citadel. So this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you'll find there'll be 5 points probably around the outside. I don't know. I'm going to have to start looking at them with the information you've just mentioned, because a lot of them, they just follow the same number, but it could be, stepping up numbers and to do with geometry, pi, who knows what. Now this is actually the very first video I made was on this. And this is Fort Jefferson. Okay, so this is actually off the coast of Florida.
Really?
200 miles off the coast of Florida.
What?
Sitting on an atoll. That's it. It's in the middle of nowhere. This is the largest red brick building in the USA. 16 million red bricks. How did they get them out there?
Well, I mean,
Florida, do you know what the story is?
Florida.
The story they tell us.
Florida's all built on what do you call it? Coral.
Coral, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what this is sitting on. You can
Red
see
brick.
it.
You'd have to go to the Smoky Mountains. That'd be the closest, which is
Exactly.
what, hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And I guess you could
Imagine
ship
that.
it, but
16 million of them. But what they tell us is, oh no, ships coming by they just drop their ballast bricks off. It's like they just sit down and they say, oh, what's the most ridiculous story we could possibly get, and let's see if they believe it. But that's what we get. So this, as you can see, a six-sided. So we've got a pentagon there. We've got remnants of the original moat. But as you can see, this has just fallen off into the ocean.
Why would you want a moat with your...
Why exactly? Why would you build a moat when you're in the ocean? And then the best story is why did they build it? For defense. It's for defense, Jay. It's a fort. Because when you're coming in to attack, Florida, and you're in a ship, you can't just sail around this. You can't just go 50 miles so they can't hit you with their cannonballs, can you?
No,
you have to sail straight into them and get attacked.
You'd sail right into it for sure. You wouldn't go.
This is. So yeah, Fort Jefferson, 16 million red bricks, and then it's just a ridiculous story. And a lot of these are near the water, and so we find a lot of them that have sort of fallen away, half in the water. I think they're using it now for these look like oyster farms or something.
So do you think that it was built before the water rose? Because the moat, that could only be the thing that would explain the moat. I mean,
I'd say that there was definitely. This is a citadel. So this is only a small part of the actual structure that they build when they build these things. So what that is the same as, like this middle bit is a citadel, and then you have these bigger walls on the outside. So with that one that we were just looking at, that's literally just the center, because there's no star. The star's underwater.
As a real big favor for me, that one, the one from Italy. Later on, can you send?
I'll send you the whole file if you want.
Because I want to do a geometrical analysis of that one. Because that one's really important.
It seems like it. That's good information that you've brought out too. And here's another one. This is Woerden in the Netherlands. And you can see this is how they were hidden. Unless you could see this from above, you wouldn't know that that was a star. You could see it's half been sort of built over. They've kind of filled this in, but you can definitely see. Definitely a star fort though. And these are houses. People live in them. Imagine living in one of these. I mean, I wonder what the energy's like.
It's probably amazing.
These people, they live in them. And this, you can't really see it, but a lot of them, that you have the star, and you have this, the star sort of radiates out into a certain direction.
Yeah.
I call them starbursts, and I'm not sure what that's got to do with, but it's definitely a phenomena. I think we saw it back on that first one. Yeah, see how it sort of radiates up?
Yeah, God.
You get the star, and then it kind of moves upwards. You get that a lot. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's pushing it in a certain direction, like it's bursting out in a certain direction. We also get things called crowns, that I call crowns, because, we're just sort of making this all up as we go. Here is, this is France, Citadel of Lille. And so that's a picture from back in the day. So you can see how intricate these things were.
Wow.
So we got our five-pointed citadel, and then bursting out 5 out here again, and see again another star's underneath, and they've just rotated it. And then what have we got here? It's probably 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get that a lot too, where it sort of goes 5, 10, 15, or it might go 6, 12.
Yeah, it's
I'll send you this whole file so you can have a
this
look at
is
them all. Yeah.
definitely some kind of energy frequency generator.
Yeah,
Period. That's
definitely,
what this is.
definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. And see, in here, all these are buildings, and we have maps of these stars, and what you'll find is some of these. Okay, there's one there. See that?
Yeah.
Can you see that? How that looks like a cross?
Oh yeah.
That's a cathedral.
No.
They are all crosses. You look at them from above; they're all crosses.
Oh my God! I've got to go to France again. This is
So that's a cathedral, and like I said, the cathedrals are definitely a part of this whole system.
yeah.
Definitely, and water. See all the water?
Yep.
This is all the blue bits is water. And you'll notice if you look at any major city, older city that has a river going through it, go and have a look at the edges, the banks of that river. You'll find pretty much they're all man-made. These are not rivers. These are canals. These are man-made canals. Look how straight they are. Look at that angle there, that turn.
Actually, Schwaller de Lubitz, the great Egyptian scholar, he pointed out that, and with pretty good evidence, that the Nile River should run into the Red Sea, and that someone messed with it and pushed it into the Mediterranean.
Mm.
Yep.
I've seen, I haven't been able to find them, but I saw it was a video from New Earth channel. And go and check that out, guys. She does great work, even though most of the good stuff has been ripped down and is been deemed not viewable by humans.
By our gods.
Excuse me.
Yep.
What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Sylvie, New Earth. Oh gosh, I don't know. I've lost it. I'll remember. Water? No. Let's see what we got here. So this is another star. This is the star today. That's it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Still there.
Still there. Well, some of it. It's not as big as it used to be. But yeah, some of it, and you can see they've sort of changed the canals a bit, but you can see this is clearly a man-made canal. Look at that angle there.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's man.
Clearly. And if we go in, we'll just see if we can see. No, it looks like they've taken the cathedral out. They've knocked it over.
Interesting.
It's no longer there.
Huh.
Which they love to do because I think when they knock out certain buildings, they stop the energy circuit. They sort of kill the power of the city or whatever. And I think that's also a reason that they're doing it, because of course, if these buildings have all got free energy, which we think that they did, then you can't charge people for energy, can you?
No. And we know.
Because these parasites, yeah. So these parasites, what they essentially are is they're middlemen. They come in and they find stuff that other people have created and they just steal it and charge us to use it.
Yep.
So that's why it had to go. Here's another plant. So this bit here is what I call a crown. See this bit coming off the side here?
Yeah. Calling them a fort is kind of negative.
Yeah, exactly right. And the story is all these, what are these called? Cavaliers, I believe these are called. And the ones that are not joined are called bastions. Yep. I think that's right. They tell us that this is all built, and the only explanation is so that when you shoot a cannonball, it gets deflected. I mean, come on, look how many layers there are here. Why would you be building layers upon layers of why would you have these in here if this is deflecting the cannonball? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And again here we again have our cathedral. See that? Cross.
And the other thing here that should be pointed out is with all these spikes, you're actually, if this was a place for defense, you're actually creating more and more real estate that you have to defend. I mean, that's what this is. I mean, now you've got hundreds
Exactly.
of extra feet of real estate that has to be defended, which is just really kind of silly. This isn't defending
Yeah.
anything. You'd want to
No,
have,
so you need more men, yeah, more
yeah,
materials to build it.
yeah, everything is wrong here.
So if you imagine if we didn't have this star on the outside and all we had was this shape in the middle here, that would be much easier to defend than
Absolutely.
this outside shape, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're going to need
Because you just have
another
your men standing along the
100
wall.
men just to defend, and that crown is going to take, you know, another hundreds of men to defend.
Exactly. And because they're made in a point, how are you going to, you know, lay your men out? How are they going to stand to defend? You could at the point here, you can only get 1 or 2 men, and so most of your men are back here, further away from the enemy, so their weapons have less power.
There's too much real estate.
Nothing of this makes sense as being anything to do with war.
In fact, you couldn't get enough people in that city to defend the amount of real estate that you've got there. I mean,
you probably couldn't.
No, you couldn't.
No.
It's bigger than the city.
Yeah, it is. I mean, literally, yeah, just to build this outside bit would be more material than to build the whole city in the middle.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that is,
yeah, it's just, so they were clearly thinking completely differently to us. They were, you know, looking at the world differently. And that, you know, they were just working with nature, with their energies.
This is alchemy. That's what this is. This is using the power of place to create a high frequency, a high vibration, so that you're living in a more healthy environment.
That's pretty much what we think it is. It's just to, you know, for the benefit of humanity, just because it's a good thing to do.
That's right.
This is what the society used to be. It used to be, how do we make it better for everyone? And like I said before, if we're going to build something, how do we build it so it never needs to be replaced, so it can stay there forever?
Also,
you know?
this kind of thing is an archon repellent, because archons hate beauty and creativity, so they're going to be uncomfortable in this place.
Yeah, which is maybe why they went around destroying them all.
Maybe.
And another thing with these forts, you know, they tell us they're forts, but there's a couple that you can see a bit of, you know, wear and tear from battle, but literally 99% of them are almost pristine. They haven't ever seen a cannonball anywhere near them. So
that's interesting. Wow.
So that's Cambell. That's the same one that we saw the the map of.
Absolutely.
That's it today.
That
there
is
you go.
Incredible.
Yeah, and these are houses. People live in there. And look, here's our cathedral. See it?
Yep.
Now, normally, I'd say there would have been a few more in there, but they've left one. But you normally get 3 or 4 cathedrals, and they're somehow part of it. Always get the water coming in. You can see this looks like it was the water, and they've just stopped it flowing through. And that's another thing that they tend to do, is they stop the water flow. So a lot of them you might see, you know, you might still see the moat, sorry, around there, but it won't be connected to a canal anymore. So it'll be stagnant. It won't be flowing.
Right.
Yeah, and that obviously, you know, and this is the thing with all these words, like water, like current, right?
Right.
Electricity, current. Yep. So it's like the water supplied the current for the city.
Right.
Yeah. So words start to have different meanings when you start to look at all this stuff too. It all starts to pop out. Oh, and that looks like my last photo.
So does your family think you're crazy?
Yeah, pretty much. No, they're getting on. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's thought I was crazy my whole life, pretty much, Jay. So
yeah.
What's weird to me is now people are actually listening to me and not calling me crazy, and it's saying, look into that more. That's what the weird thing is, because I'm used to sort of saying things and have people yell at me and chase me with pitchforks.
No, I've been through that. I went, and I like to say that 25 years ago, I would be at a party talking, and the host would invite me to leave, and and actually invite me to talk. So things have changed.
They have. I remember just not even 10 years ago, probably 5, 6 years ago on Facebook, and we had groups, I was in groups discussing just things like money, that money was lent at interest, and that, you know, feds were privately owned. And I got like attacked, like literally people would keep coming back to my page for days and just attacking me just for saying that.
It's on the news.
Exactly. Now, if you went out and said, "Oh no, the feds," you know, that's completely, you know, not sus. It's all good. People would look at you like, "Dude, you're crazy."
Yeah, the same
so
thing.
Things have completely switched.
Yeah, I used to tell everybody about the Bilderberger meetings, and everyone thought I was crazy. And now we have, you know, one of our big hosts, Tucker Carlson, like reporting on it. Okay, Bilderberger's happening today. I'm like, you're kidding me. They're announcing on national news. Okay, cool. So
It's bizarre. It's good. It's good confirmation.
Yeah. So, you know, I know you're probably a little bit reticent to like tell me a narrative here, but you know, if you could give me a, you know, the down and dirty here of what you think what we're looking at here, all over.
Okay, so
everything.
So basically, couple of thousand years ago, you know, just as a random time point, humans were completely different as far as the way that we lived, the way that we saw the world, what we built, what we did here. Obviously, things like jobs were non-existent. Everything was done for creativity and beauty, and that's what was admired, and that's what people strove for. And you can see that just in the architecture. If you look at, you know, you go back to the 1600s, look at the clothes, look at the instruments, look at the furniture. It's all so ornate and amazing. And so they lived differently to us, and they had this, you know, the star forts, they had everything sussed out by the looks of it, you know, pretty much the Eden, you know, that we're all looking for, and based completely on cooperation. Everything was done for the good of the good, you know, the good of everyone. You know, this middleman sort of thing didn't exist. And then something happened. Now, I think we definitely have to bring astrology and the ages into this. I think that, you know, obviously we have, you know, things like Zep Tepi, you know, and the Golden Age and all this, and then we go down Silver, Bronze. So I think what we're looking at is Golden Age or close to it. And then things have started to sort of, you know, work down a bit through ages, and then something's happened. We don't know if it's if it was orchestrated and created by the parasites, or if it was something that happened naturally and the parasites were just opportunists, basically, and jumped in. But something happened, a cataclysm. It's buried buildings all across the world. We've got melted buildings. If you look at deserts, melted buildings everywhere. Go check out Sodom and Gomorrah. They're still there. They look like mountains because they're melted. They just melted. So something big happened. It could have been a plasma discharge event that did that.
Yep. That's what I think the Cross of Henday, which is what I've written about. Actually, you know, I tell people that you know, it's a coronal mass ejection that it's predicting. But as I get further into this kind of research, I'm realizing it was a plasma discharge, and probably the Grand Canyon was created by a plasma discharge. Just visited it a few months ago and flew a drone over it, and man, it looks just like a lightning strike looks when it hits the ground. And
this is the thing. What are they called? Are they Liechtenstein? Is that right? Liechtenstein, patterns.
Pattern.
You see them everywhere. If you go onto Google Earth and just start looking at mountains,
they're everywhere.
That's everywhere.
Yeah, if you just pick up a rock, like here in Colorado, you just pick up a rock and start looking, you can see the pattern going through the rock. Also, miners know that like a gold mine It's traveling in the Liechtenstein pattern. So they know that it's not going to be in the straight line. It's going to be this like zigging pattern. And then they'll know right when to take the left to get more of the gold and right when to turn to the right. And a good miner knows exactly where to go with all this. And you can see that river systems are probably the same kind of plasma pattern. And they just happen, you know, they got hit by whatever it was that hit them, the plasma, and that created the riverbed. It wasn't the erosion that caused the riverbed. That later was a factor in creating the river. But the original rivers, like the Mississippi here in the United States, they clearly were created by some kind of something. Something happened. And I don't know what it is either. I know that if the dating is right, that we had a gigantic fire all over the planet at one time, which could be the result of a plasma event. There's feet of ash in North America, in Canada, from gigantic forests burning. And we know about, of course, the death of the megafauna 13,000 years ago. If the dates are right, at this stage, I'm reading a book right now about carbon dating. And I'm like ready to throw out every, okay, 1,500 years ago, yeah, okay, the carbon dating is still pretty good. 2,000 years ago, yeah. But man, even the experts are saying that, you know, they're having real problems with anything about 4,000 to 8,000 years ago. They're starting to like, I'm not sure what we're looking at here. And so also, it would seem to me that you could have a series of plasma events over, say, a 300-year period. So let's just say that when we entered into the Maunder minimum in 1400, and the first wave of the Maunder minimum ended in the late 1500s, and then the second wave started in the early 1600s and went all the way to the 1850s. Okay, so we had like 350 years of, but we didn't have any communication. There wasn't any travel except for horses. So you could have an event in Salt Lake City, and then a week later in Moscow, and just little plasma events from the fact that the electromagnetic field of the Earth is shrunk because of the lack of sunspots, which causes the Earth to be more vulnerable to plasma events. And so by 1800, you could have had hundreds of these plasma events everywhere, which would liquefy the ground in some cases, cause a, what did you call it? Where the ground starts moving really fast?
Liquefaction?
Yeah, liquefaction, which I've seen videos on YouTube. Definitely would not want to be around one of those events. And so, I mean, that could be it. I mean, you know, I don't know. Something happened.
That's the biggest question still is what happened. But obviously something did, and nefarious entities, jumped in and basically decided to take things over. It's from what we can see, a massive amount of population was wiped out.
Yep.
And then we get this phenomenon of orphan children and orphan trains and infantoriums. They literally used to have these places at fairs where you could go and look at live babies, and you could even buy them. So where are all these babies coming from? You know, we have pictures of trains just full of just kids, little kids.
And where's
their parents? Exactly. And where are they being moved to, and why are they being moved? Why aren't they just, if they're orphans, why aren't they just being looked after?
Who's deciding it? Who's picking the kids, and who's telling them where they're going, and where are they going? They're slave labor. It's clearly obvious.
That's what happened. Yeah, I mean, if you read about it, you know, they say, oh yeah, you know, we basically fostered them out because they were orphans, but then you're looking at what happened, and it was all slave labor, basically. Yeah, you know, this is
sex trafficking.
Exactly. I think it's the start of what we know, what's going on now, what's about to explode, and that's what these entities are. They're parasites. They live off us. They need us. We don't need them. They need us. because they feed off us and they prey on our children, because children have more pure energy. And well, we don't need to go into, but certain
No, you're
drugs
absolutely right.
that they may get.
Just take it one step further. That's what's going on today with
It is.
the VIRUS. It's just they want us locked into the worst possible conditions so that we're in a completely negative state, and then they feed off the negative energy. That's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. And all of our myths tell us this, and the Gnostic texts, the Nag Hammadi, they all go and tell us that we're being invaded by spiritual parasites, and they hate us and they're jealous of us, and they are. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's the truth. It's the truth. And this is what many of us have been suspecting, thinking, even known, researching for like I said, Jay, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And we've been yelled at, but now it's suddenly becoming so obvious what's going on that we can't really deny it anymore. And so something big is happening, which is good. We've obviously changed ages, and I think that's part of it too. Is energy that because the energy is rising, they can't rise with it. They're low vibration entities, and that's why they're being exposed, because we've moved above them. If for sort of a way to say it, that we're looking more down so we can see what they're doing now.
That's right. It's like it's like you've risen up to the plane above that physical plane, and you're allowed to look down at it. And it's a rather unpleasant experience as someone who's done it, because you realize, oh my God, I've got to go back down there. Ugh, and you're down here and you have to put up with it all. But the food is good. So I'll say that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so age is a big part of it. So we're rising up and they're going down. And I think that's what this whole thing was about. Obviously it's 2021 and last year was 2020. So 2020, what was 2020? Agenda 21. That's all it was, guys. It's a build up so they could implement Agenda 21, because where are we now? 2021.
Yeah.
Of course they got exposed and they won't get there, but
as people who watch this show know, the next 9 years are going to be the big one, and they've got big plans for 2030, and they want to move us all out of the country and into their smart cities, and hook us up to the internet and chip us and tell us what temperature you can have your room at, and how fast you can drive your car, and how much food you can eat every day. And that's where they want to go, folks. So we're reaching the point, and I've said this many times, where we either become slaves to the technology or we make the technology our slave. And that's the choice we're at right now. And if we don't choose the latter, we are going to be in serious trouble. We can have all the things that being slaves to technology can give us without being slaves to technology. And that's what is going on here. We need to move out to more rural areas, bring our toys with us, grow our own food, take care of our families and friends and our community, and not listen to their BS, because everything they're telling us is a lie.
Everything.
Everything.
I mean, look at what I've just showed you as far as what the world used to be. And this is what humans, what man, and man means women as well. It doesn't just mean males. So man this is what we used to create. This is how we used to live. And like you said, they hate that. The parasites hate that. They hate the creativity. They hate everything about it. They especially hate that they couldn't feed off us. So they jumped in and took over, as soon as there was an opportunity. And of course, if you wipe out the adult population, and you've then got the next generation, you can especially if you have education systems, books, all this stuff, you can tell them whatever story you want.
That's right.
How would they know any different? You can tell them that, their past was full of war, and that they're evil, vicious little warring creatures.
Everything you do is bad and terrible, and you're the reason the world is screwed up, and you're bad, and you
pay to live here.
On my Facebook page, I posted a picture from 1970 of a beach scene here in America. And there's about 300 people maybe in this single photograph. Not one person was obese. Everybody was super healthy looking. They were all skinny. They looked really athletic. And I thought, my God, 50 years, what have they done to us?
This is the other thing is they've stretched out the past. They've stretched time. So, and they've done it so they can try and fit their history in, try and get all this history and rewrite it and fit it into this little time frame.
Good point.
Which doesn't work.
So they added possibly this 1,000 years of history of war and murder and darkness to solidify in our heads that everything that we come from is just bad. And not this, what we're seeing on the screen, but just bad. We're just bad people. And I really think that that's it. I really think that they're just trying to make us hate ourselves.
Their biggest weapon, spelling, right? Spells. They cast spells. That's right. And so what they do is they write the script and then they tell us this is a script. And if we believe them, we'll follow it and it becomes reality. That's it, guys. That's their plan. That's what they've got. So all we need to do is go, no, that's crap, not following you. And they disappear. Yes,
we need to break the spell. Just like people aren't watching sports, we need to break the spell of everything. We need to break it right now, because if we don't break it, they win. And they have no intention of being nice to us.
No, this is, this is a fight, guys. This is a fight for, humanity, for man, for our society, for our beliefs, ethics, for our children, for our children's children. Because the thing about this past, like I said, this has all happened, a lot has happened recently. They've changed so much so recently that we don't even know who we are.
We don't?
So we don't even know really what we're trying to find. And we're so disconnected. We used to live like this and grow our own food. Now, you can send a kid to the supermarket and they don't realize that the meat comes from animals. They think that burgers come from the supermarket, not from cows. There's such a disconnect.
Yep.
And they think that eating something that's all these lollies that are colored, they make them colors that in nature are warning signs. Don't eat this, it's poison.
Right.
But they're all the colors that they give to kids in lollies.
They do. You're right. I never thought of that before.
So
the kids' cartoons are all the messages for poison in nature. They're using the bright colors of the reds and oranges, the lower chakra colors, and good point. Hadn't thought about it.
So it's a total disconnect from nature. And so if we're disconnected from nature, we can't look after ourselves and we can't live. And so, enter the parasites. Oh, we'll look after you. Oh, lost your job, did you? We'll give you some money. No worries. Just do what we say and everything will be fine. Believe what we believe.
Yeah, I was talking to the greatest artist of our age, Alex Gray, one time about this. And I said, what do you think? And he said, well, I figure that if we can make a movie like The Exorcist, which causes everybody to become completely terrified, then it should be possible to create something positive, which has the opposite effect. And so I decided I would make that my mission. And I thought, that's pretty good. And I think all artists in the old days, not today, but in the old days, that was their mission, was to transform the society around them into a more beautiful place.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's a spell.
It is.
It's just a good spell.
Yeah, let's do a good spell. I like that.
Just a good spell. Because what's the first thing they teach you when you go to school, right? Spelling.
That's right.
That's the deal.
The screen back.
Oh yes, I can.
Just want to make sure I see everything's going well. Go to the top and say stop.
Stop share. There we go. Yeah, cool.
Good. Yeah, we're good. All right, cool. Hey, well, listen, Cambell, I really, really appreciate your presentation. It was amazing. And
Nice.
I hope everyone watching appreciates it as much as I do, because I just learned a lot. I hope you did too.
I did, yeah. That the stuff about the numbers on that fort, yeah, definitely.
Oh my God, that is amazing, because that's
Sacred geometry, yeah.
that's that is actually how dimensions unfold, the way that city in Italy was built. So it's like, wait a minute, you know, whoever built it had to know this. And I want to do a whole essay on that one city, because there's something, I even want to go visit it actually. There's something
Yeah,
there that's amazing.
it's amazing. Like, just showing you those, you said sort of 3 or 4 things that just literally synced in that with what we found, and you're coming from, you know, a sacred geometry sort of perspective, and we're coming from like literally what we're seeing, and and they link up, you know, they sync up. So
well,
this is a thing.
And this book here, the book that has been my book, The Mysteries of the Cathedrals by Fulcanelli, you know, he says in between the lines, more or less, that what you're looking at is not what you're seeing. And, you know, you've got to look further. And I'm going to give this book another read in light of what I've just learned from you, because I suspect that he's telling us what you're telling us, that there's a veneer and then there's the real thing. And you got to dig, literally dig.
The veil they pulled over us. Just one more point, just after your own research. There is a lady, now I have forgotten her name, but if you Google recording sound frequencies, cathedrals, you should find her. She basically goes into cathedrals and she records the silence.
Right.
And then she does it 7 times, where she'll then play what she recorded and record that, and she'll go through it 7 times, and she ends up with a harmony, with a frequency, and every cathedral has a different frequency.
Wow.
Yeah, and they seem to be to match up with the cymatic, the round cymatic, you know, that we see, and the under the dome. So that's something else you might help you with your look.
You're reminding me now. I realize that I remember a book. If anybody's out there has this book, because I can't remember where I read this, but they showed a map of France, and the cathedrals were all in the constellation of Virgo, and it built just exactly like the sign of Virgo. And of course, they're all dedicated to what? To the Virgin, who isn't Mary, by the way. It's Isis. Christianity is just a rendition of Egyptian religion. Jesus is Horus, God is Osiris, Mary is Isis, and Satan is Set. And so it's, again, built over the top, right? There's a religion built over the top, that just like the buildings are built over the top. And this seems to be the recurring theme. And I guess what we can go away with here is that the gradualism doesn't exist. That's a bullshit scientific theory. And that our history is punctuated by sudden and abrupt change that happens more frequently than we've thought before. It isn't in tens of thousands of years. It may be in 500s of years or even less. And we are such a scattered species that we don't have any memory. And that brings me back to where I started here. If this is a simulation, then we should be finding inconsistencies in the past, and we are. And you finding more than anyone I've ever seen. So congratulations. I really appreciate your work.
Thank you. And again, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I really do. And so everybody, with Cambell of Autodidactic channel on YouTube, definitely go watch it. If you got a snowy day, perfect to watch all of his videos, just perfect. So go do that. I'm Jay Widener. This is Reality Check. I really want to thank you for watching. You have no idea how much I appreciate you guys, and thank you.